down in 5 4, preparing the live stream, setting up the meeting stream, and we are live. Hey everybody, you are watching and listening to the We Are Ryzen podcast. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin. I am joined by my co-host, Jay Christian Gary, who also hates live now just as much as I do.
Good evening, everybody. And when it comes down to live now, aside from Ryzen Landmark II, let's just face it, they need to go. But we'll chat more about that after we get through these results for Ryzen 34, which took place last weekend at the Marizon Intech Arena in Osaka. And a man who basically enjoyed what he's seen from this card is a man who also lives too close to the action. And that's Charles Jewett, originally from Indianapolis, Indiana, now residing in Japan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are things going for you guys over
there? Can't really complain. I mean, we've been through some crazy ass weather over the last 48 hours, but still, we're doing all right. Andrew, what say you?
Oh yeah, it basically is 70 degrees here. And so I've been wearing shorts and sandals maybe the last week or so because the weather has been so good here. It's really like, it's fantastic.
If you think it's good now, wait till the summer, dude. That's all I gotta say.
I'll say
talk about but continue, please.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, listen, I'm enjoying it while it lasts for the time being, because anytime I could just wear shorts and sandals, I'm so happy.
Of course. But we can talk about the conditions all we want. But again, we're here to talk about Ryzen 34, the event that took place this past weekend on Live Now for the English language international viewers, and on Ryzen Live, Exciting Ryzen, and all these other different platforms in Japanese. First of all, before we get to talking about the 17 fights on the card, and I don't know what order we're going to go. We're going to probably talk about the main event first. But CJ, from your firsthand experience, I don't know if you watched the show live or not, but from your perspective, what was it like?
Well, I watched some of it live because I got the start time wrong. I have this poster right here my wife got, and it says it starts at 2. So we started watching it at 2, and it did not start at 2. It started at 1. So we missed some of the early kickboxing antics, which at the time I was fine with, because I was just like, oh, yeah, I get 5 of the kickboxing starter stuff cut out of my life, and I can go back and watch those whenever I want. And it turns out the kickboxing fights are actually probably the most exciting aspects of the card. So glad I got to watch those later on. I feel like this event didn't generate the buzz of most Rising events. But that being said, I do know that Jamie went there and said that the venue was pretty full, and that both Koji and Hagiwara got pretty good pops from the crowd.
Of course, you can tell whenever it's a Koji show, because all the Koji fans have the.
Oh, do you think they get a new one every show, or are those old?
I wouldn't be surprised if that's like, if I could see it being both. I could see like fans like have their own, but then like it's one of those things that they're like, they sell anytime Koji's at a show, and you can just make whatever $20-$30 off the Koji sticks. And I would not be surprised if that's like a moneymaker for Ryzen, Koji, and everybody who makes those crazy things.
My theory would be that he sells them. He doesn't sell them directly. It's one of those things where if you buy a ticket from him, you get it with the ticket. That'd be my theory with it. I also like the idea of like a father passing it down to his son, being like, when I cheered for Koji, this is the balloon I used.
So they have the thing for Koji, for the balloon for Koji. You know what they should, Hagiwara should do? Hagiwara should get his own balloon, but it should be like in the form of like of joints. So like when it comes out, the fans should just like, and they should smoke, like they should like smoke should come out of them or something to like signal
hand out vape pens to everybody in the crowd.
Oh god! Offer free tattoos after or something. Free. Actually, this show did prove kind of prove my theory that if you're a fighter in Osaka who has tattoos, you do get extra health points and endurance. So I will say that the majority of fighters with tattoos do tend to win in Osaka. Unfortunately, the case was not for the main event. Dominator actually dominating, I think, for the first time that we've ever like seen him like recently.
Is this his first Ryzen win?
Yes. No. The Bay Noah fight. Well,
that's right.
Bay Noah fight. The fact that we have to like say,
I know, but
like,
in my mind, Bay Noah won that fight. Like, I know that Dominator won the fight, but Bay Noah did so well that he's like the real winner in my eyes.
Oh yeah, that's one of those fights where like you think you're gonna remember, you're gonna think Bay Noah won, but then you're gonna look up on tap out. You're like, oh wait, never mind. Yeah, Dominator won, but yeah, Dominator triangle choke Kyoya Hagiwara first. You said this many times, CJ, that Hagiwara is like maybe the worst, has like the worst grappling acumen, and yeah, he does. I think he does. He got caught in the same thing that almost the same move that Ashita did to him.
Well, I was watching it with my wife, and it was kind of, I was pulling for Hagiwara because he's got like big star potential, and I kind of felt like Dominator was on the way out. And when he was in Dominator's guard, I was like, why do you have your arm like that? Why are you not moving your arm? I mean, you're a jiu-jitsu guy. That doesn't seem like a good position just to rest your arm at.
I'll tell you this. He was laying in a position that he could have easily gotten out of. And any jiu-jitsu 101 blue belt and above that he would have had on his team could have told him like from 1,000 yards away, hey, listen, you can get out of there. Because he originally had the triangle in, but he did not have a triangle locked. He just had his legs in the position, and he could have easily pushed his leg to the side, got side control, or at least gotten out of it.
Well, I guess my issue is even before that, why was he resting with his arm laying across his opponent's body? I was just like, this person on bottom normally has to work to get your arm in that position, and you're just giving it to him. But yeah, I mean, it's no secret when most of the people in his gym fight, it seems that their opponent's game plan is always, let's just take them down. And most smokers, gym people, look like a turtle on their back once they get to the ground. And I heard that he'd been training with some jiu-jitsu guys in Osaka, but he needs to do it more.
He's training, I believe, at Carpe Diem with Irie, Tomohige Irie. I think that's
he needs to do it more because there's a clear blueprint to beating him, and people are just going to take advantage of that more and more.
Chris, I think all of us are pulling for Hagiwara. Hagiwara's got kind of like badass bad boy star potential. Was this as shocking of a win? What would you say was more shocking, this or the Juntaro win over Saito?
I would say that this fight, Yamasu versus Hagiwara, was a lot more shocking than the featherweight title fight. Because if you think about it, we were all pulling for Hagiwara to win this fight, but we did not expect that Hagiwara would just give up so easily. I mean, obviously, he was put in a triangle choke. Let's be real. You can't get out of that so easily. But still, though, we didn't expect Hagiwara to lose like this. We just thought he was going to go in there, smash and bash, or as the people down in my neck of the woods say, swinging and banging, and just call it in, Going on to the next fight.
Well, I guess it was more surprising because Hagiwara gave us a flash of hope in the beginning, where he appeared
that jumping double stomp that he tried.
Well, it looked like he dropped Dominator and was all over him, and then it was just like, oh nope, it's over.
I'm sorry, CJ, for interrupting, even though it's kind of my thing, but that double stomp was basically an indicator that I thought that Hagiwara was going to win this fight. Because I fell asleep for the first 3 fights of the second part of the card, and I kind of was woken up by the Tiger versus Genji Umeno fight. at least the end of it. But as soon as that stomp landed on Yamasu's body, I was woke up with excitement.
Well, I'm sorry, CG, go ahead.
I don't, not the armchair quarterback too much, but it almost seemed like Hagiwara, not just his grappling, but his fight IQ. It's just, when you have a guy hurt like that, why wouldn't you just make him stand back up? You're a striker, he's a grappler. Why not just keep hitting him?
Well, no, listen, I think this is definitely, we have seen how Team Smoker people fight. We've seen, how Hagiwara fights, how the guy from the first Fujiwara, I think his name is, in the opening fight that was on the first Trigger show. Apologize. Who's the Deep Jewels fighter from Smoker Gym? What's her name again?
Oh, Aoi Kuriyama.
Yes. I'm pretty sure she fights very similarly as well, right?
Oh yeah. Once she gets to the ground, she's like a fish out of water.
It's kind of one of those things where like certain gyms probably, Team Smoker is not a gym that focuses on BJJ, or maybe that's not one of their strong suits, as opposed to, probably if you want, like as a striking gym, maybe it's the best in Osaka for all we know. But if you go to like P reversal, whatever in Osaka, you'll probably get better, grappling teaching there by whoever is the grappling coach there. So
I was actually talking about this with a friend of mine over the weekend. I mean, on Monday at the Pancrase show, I was saying it'd be like one thing if like Europe has more of like a striking image in my mind, like people come from kickboxing backgrounds, and so that focus might be fine. But in Japan, where a majority of professional fighters come from a judo background or a wrestling background, it just seems ill-advised to have a bad grappling program at your gym.
Well, here's the thing, don't forget that, I don't think Hagiwara was a studious young man in his school days, and attending classes and attending gym. So, wouldn't be surprised if he didn't attend the judo sessions during a gymnasium class or a rec or whatever. But this is a blueprint, and this is why, he and Ren are very similar. They both have blueprints. By the way, did you see the videos of Ren like laughing at Hagiwara?
Sitting ringside, looking ridiculous with the tattoo on his face.
You can't deny that, like, that it, I'm more interested now to see the rematch. I don't know if anybody else here agrees with me between those two, only because they both clearly have the same holes in their game, and I don't think at this point they are going to improve or will improve.
Does Ren have holes in his game, or does he just have aspects of his game that don't exist, like Grand Canyons in his game? Because if Hagiwara is able to take him down and out grapple him, that might be the most telling thing I've ever seen.
I think it's that, but also remember he did the same thing in the Suzuki fights. Hagiwara, not Ren to Suzuki. And so like, this is why, like, if Hagiwara, anybody else in that 145 division, Poirier, God forbid, Kleber, if like,
hey, don't let Poirier get his hands on him. You never know what'll happen.
Or Kleber, So, I mean, with Dominator winning, I mean, it was kind of like, it was kind of like a flat ending to an overall great show where, it was kind of like, Dominator won. Okay. I
wouldn't go that far. I think the main card was kind of starving for a finish at that point.
Yeah.
And that the card started out, that's like the problem. I think Jamie told me a little bit about it, and I kind of agreed, was that when you put a lot of these kind of like mismatches on the beginning of a card, old Strikeforce style, and you get a bunch of crazy finishes in the prelims, it kind of gets everyone's adrenaline super going. And then when the main card is just like decision, it's just like hitting the brakes and kind of takes the steam out of the event a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, Chris.
But to be honest, how was it that flat of an ending compared to the other 4 fights that took place before it? I mean, was it the fact that the Kawabe, was it because of the fact that the Tiger versus Ryo Takahashi fight ended in a draw and the rest of the fight just kind of doled out?
I'll tell you, here's the comparison I would make. I'm curious to know if any of you agree. Do you remember when Rumble fought Gustafsson in Sweden?
When you said you're going to make an example, I think we just had like a moment because that thought entered my mind.
Oh,
Because
shit.
this event was clearly supposed to be like a Hagiwara crowning achievement.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was just Gustafsson getting murdered at 3 a.m. in front of his home crowd.
And you know the expectation that Gustafsson was going to win that, and I think they were going to do the John Jones rematch after that, but then Rumble Johnson totally like fucked it up, and the audience was like kind of like, how do we react? We're not we're not angry, but we're not sure, And I was kind of like the same way. By the way, Jamie and you both, good morning to both of you. Thank you for joining. So yeah, it was kind of like, how do we react? Because here's the thing as well. We've seen Dominator in his last two fights get destroyed. With the Mikuru and then the Beinoa fight. Which he only basically won on technicality, and then he kind of easily just defeats the Hagiwara and like this. And it was kind of like, yeah, how do you kind of like absorb that for that show, for that ending?
How do you even gauge Hagiwara at this point? Because he seriously struggled to grapple with Beinoa, who is a kickboxer that just made the switch over to MMA very recently. And he struggled against him with his grappling. And then he looked very dominant against Hagiwara. So it's just kind of hard to gauge both of them. But I agree with you. This reminds me of like the Saito event where they had him on the poster. And they're like, oh, we're going to have Saito fight Ushiku. We're going to make him a poster child. But another thought I've been having recently is it's kind of now that the pandemic events are kind of ending, hopefully, it's interesting because fighters like Hagiwara and Dominator, would they be big names in Ryzen if the pandemic had ever happened?
Absolutely not. I do not think there would be no reason for. I don't think they would be given this much position. Yeah. They may have found them for like Osaka shows, and they were still, the whole thing was to do that 3 arrows thing, trigger, landmark, number shows and all that. So they definitely probably would have like scouted them for those shows, but I can't believe that and let's also be honest, the Hagiwara's position. I'm glad that some guy went from underground fighting to main eventing Ryzen shows, but what catapulted him was the Ren thing, was that Ren fight. And since
I'm gonna go a step farther and say what catapulted them was the popularity of Mikuru and Kai, who both come from Outsider, and Rising probably was the matchmakers were like, we need to find more fighters that can bring unique fan bases and kind of have this bad boy image. The bad boy young image seems to be popular. And then they put him and Ren together because they were like, both these guys fit that mold perfectly. Mm-hmm. And he came out the winner. And he's been kind of they put so much marketing behind him since then. And right now, he's on the verge of being a 50-50 fighter, right?
Yeah, he's 6-5, I think. I mean, I don't know, like his record is a little bit weird. Don't know what's official, what's unofficial, but the last I saw it was 6-5 at this point.
Yeah, I think he's 50-50. And if I was them, the way that I use Ren from now on, the way that I use Hagiwara from now on, is you are landmark fighters, and I am not giving you like serious competition. I'm giving you fun fights that you guys can do a lot of shit talking. I'm giving you like fights against kickboxers, fights against popular YouTubers. I'm just going for the freak fight angle 100% on landmark shows.
So what you're basically saying, CJ, is that, we're not seeing Ryzen is basically saying we're not seeing anything improving with Ren Hiramoto. We're not seeing anything improving with Kyohei Hagiwara. So we're just going to get some dumbass American YouTuber who's only known for pulling pranks on people to fight these two.
Or doesn't have to be like basically American YouTubers. But I mean, kind of go back to the outsiders angle. Have him fight tough guys. I mean, Hagiwara is a tattooed tough guy. Find other tough guys like outsiders used to do.
I definitely think that Ren Hiromoto would have been a signing for Ryzen anyway, regardless pandemic or not. Hagiwara, I'm not so sure at the level that he's currently at. And this is not like me picking on him or anything, but kind of where you see who Ryzen was scouting before the pandemic and then after, it's clearly night and day, like who that they were choosing based on kind of like availability.
Now they've kind of created a monster because Hagiwara is a big star.
Yeah.
The problem is he doesn't have the skill. So it's Rin Haramoto, but neither one of them have the MMA skills to back up like their placement where they are star power wise. It's kind of I think similar situation would be like what is it? Miura, King Kazu's son.
Mm-hmm.
King Kazu's son has more Instagram followers than Mikuru Asakura now.
Oh, really?
He's got like he's got a giant amount. He's like become a giant star since this fight. And the thing is, I think right now he would beat Hagiwara or someone if they're in the same weight division. I think they are, or at least his first fight was at 145 or I think 150. I don't know if he's gonna that's gonna be his weight class. But that would be interesting. Oh, that'd be he's already showed me more skills. So
yeah. You know
worst case scenario for Hagiwara is that Rising does what they do sometimes, which is they kind of cash in. They go, all right, you're not going to be a big fighter, so we're going to milk your name for all it's worth and have you fight a bunch of guys we want to be stars and try to get the rub to pass to them.
Two quick comments. Jamie says the show was okay live. Should have left after Taiga. Everything peaks after Taiga. Lil Ellie has a question for you, CJ. She wants to know, where'd you get the Ryzen 34 poster? Been looking for them everywhere, but they're not in the store anymore.
Oh, my wife got it.
Did you get it at the Ryzen store itself in is it Tokyo?
No, I think she bought it off of a Merikari, the auction website.
Oh, okay. And Code Mayday says Japanese fighters getting to Ryzen way earlier before they develop. That's very true. Ren Hiramoto's, his first fight against Hagiwara and
Ren Hiramoto has like the CM Punk problem where it's your name is so big that they kind of have to put you on a big show to warrant the amount of money you're making.
Mm-hmm. I think I know that CM Punk thing, that was such an anomaly. Problem is that this is kind of like a history with Ryzen and or Japanese MMA where you kind of push him to the forefront. And, I know that the whole thing is that Japan doesn't care about, records and, win loss, all that stuff. But eventually, you see, unlike America, it does, it matters. But the problem is in Japanese MMA, it does matter, but it's too late till you actually find out. And then people stop caring.
Would a more accurate example be he's like Gokhan Saki?
God,
a kickboxer who made his MMA debut in the UFC.
Well, actually, Gokhan Saki fought one time in England, but it was like in 2005 or something. But still, don't even get us started on the whole Gokhan Saki thing, because that run for him in the UFC was something we would like to forget.
Speak for yourself. His fight in Japan was awesome, where he knocked the guy out and kicked his mouthpiece into the crowd.
Yeah. Here's a question. A question for both of you. First, UCJ. Do we see either Dominator or Hagiwara in the proposed Grand Prix this year?
Dominator, yes. Hagiwara, no.
Oh, okay. How about you, Chris?
Dominator, yes, with one more win. Hagiwara, let's just face it. I don't think he's a landmark fight. I don't think he's going to be a landmark or a trigger guy for the rest of his Ryzen career, but I do see him potentially building himself up, putting down the weed and, just trying his best to be a numbered guy fighter. Continuing to be a numbered guy fighter, that is, because I don't want to see him. I mean, it's like he's not going to be in the Grand Prix, but I don't want to see him just go straight down to the prelims or anything like that. I want to see him get these top spots on these numbered shows. because he has potential.
I think both of them are in the. Well, I think Hagiwara has a better chance. You know, here's the thing about Dominator. His whole gimmick's been like, I work in a bank or whatever the fuck it is, and he, you know, who knows? He may have to turn it down because he can't take off the days of work to make it. So
maybe I was speaking hopefully. I was hoping that I'm hoping they'd find some way to use Hagiwara. I think everybody wins.
I think he's going to be in the Grand Prix. I don't think
we have to remember that the Grand Prix, historically, now that if the pandemic restrictions end, we should expect at least half of the participants to be foreigners.
Well, of course. I mean, the restrictions are pretty much lifted, so we might as well be a mostly foreigner field.
I want to actually kind of ask about that. So, I mean, here's the thing, CJ. You went through Pancras. You go to Deep. Do you go to Shuto shows or not?
No, I have not. No, not really.
So Pancras, you know, used to be the promotion that had the most, I would say, out of the three, Shuto, Pancras, Deep had the most foreigners that they bring in. Deep had some, but it seemed to be mostly Deep Jewels fighters, and then Shuto would bring in, at least at one point, it seemed to be like have like an absurd amount of foreigners. Do you think after even restrictions are all over, do you think that these promotions, Ryzen included, is going to even try to go deep with bringing back foreigners, or are they just going to say it's maybe too much of a risk because we don't know what's going to happen? Why pay for, you know, visas, go through the process, all this stuff, maybe even having to still quarantine potentially, also dealing with fighters who might not be vaccinated, depending on what those rules are for Japan. Do you think that they're going to even try to bother with it to the to the point that they used to?
I think they are, because it's always been a prestige thing. Like if you can bring foreign fighters over, you're seen as a more prestigious organization. And Japanese crowds, I mean, they love the whole Japanese fighter versus the non-Japanese fighter angle. I mean, dating back to the pro wrestling days where Inoki was beating up all the foreign wrestlers. So they love that angle. And I mean, I did an article last year where, let me think, in the rising super atomweight division, only one match was a Japanese versus Japanese fighter. Almost every match was Japanese fighter versus foreign fighter before the pandemic. And so that's just the way they love to do it. And I mean, you can tell with this April card, Rising looks like they're trying to bring in as many foreigners as possible to kind of indicate that we're back.
Yeah, but you know, if you ever know if the Japanese government, you know, if they could, everything could just, I think restrictions just ended today, right? As well in Tokyo.
So. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Dude, they ended 3 weeks ago.
No, Chris, no. For Tokyo, they ended today.
I think it was yesterday, but yeah.
Or yesterday, whatever. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Today, yeah. Today your time, yesterday my time.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know if until there's like a full like 100% guarantee that they could bring in foreigners without any sort of like issues. It might be like one or two at this point, not as much as, you know, like the Ryzen 1 show or Ryzen 2 or whatever.
Well, what you'd historically see with like the smaller promotions is they wouldn't bring in a ton of foreign fighters for an event. Like they'd probably bring in 2, maybe 3, like on a Pancrase show. And you would find out that all of those fighters are from the same gym. They'd kind of just take advantage of the fact they could fly them all over and just fly one coach for over all of them. So we might see stuff like that again, especially in the women's division. Pancrase doesn't really have that deep of a division. They probably have 4 fighters in 2 divisions. So they need the foreign talent. Deep Jewels is self-sufficient in that regards. Shuto will probably need to bring in foreign fighters, and so will Ryzen. So it's not just they want to, but they also need to, because some other divisions really need it, especially like heavyweight and Ryzen, women's super atomweight. All those divisions need foreign fighters.
Oh yeah, when it comes down to, and this is just me being honest with it, when it comes down to the women's super atomweight division especially, but any division above 70 kilos or 77 kilos or, no wait, actually any division above 70 kilos or 155 pounds, they definitely need foreign talent, especially for the light heavyweight and heavyweight ranks, because You don't know how much those fighters are missed, even though Jay Kuhn kind of fucked himself into an Australian prison with his drug.
Shibasai can only tape up his body so many times to go into the ring and awkwardly fight Sidario.
Let me just read some comments on the YouTube thing. Jamie made a point that Ursan even got a tournament spot when they did the Bantamweight Grand Prix. Lily Ellie has a question. What was your impression when Dominator made his walkout? I'll be honest. What was his walkout? I can't remember.
When it happened, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this is what he does. He wears that white mask. And
the white
walks
mask,
like
yes.
super awkwardly. Like he's like kind of like a what is it, like a no play, one of those Japanese traditional plays where the mask kind of walks like really over dramatic and awkwardly.
Mm-hmm.
Quite tell what he's doing. It also reminds me of when Anderson Silva wore the mask against Vitor Belfort. I think it's like the same type of mask.
Mm-hmm.
But
wait, you're talking about the dramatic mask, right?
he wears like the white mask, just like the all white, I think.
Yeah.
Right, like the one Anderson Silva wore.
Yeah, Aaron said, me and my wife said it cost like 100 yen. So it's like $1 mask we bought somewhere. But I guess my reaction to it though was, oh yeah, I forgot he does this.
Jamie says Hagiwara is a popular fighter. He could see him being in it, or maybe a reserve fighter. I don't think they would put him in as a reserve spot. I don't think so. Just my 2 cents. Oh, Kobe says he would like to see Hagiwara versus a kickboxer like Kaito at the Tenshin versus Takeru event. Now, why would you want to embarrass Hagiwara that badly if I'm putting up against Kaito in a kickboxing match? Because Hagiwara would get absolutely mauled in that.
Speaking of Kaito, I mean, Kaito is fighting Bei Noah.
Yes.
And Bei Noah is who I want to see fight Hagiwara in a MMA fight.
Yes.
Because neither one of those guys is going to. Bei Noah might take Hagiwara down. Now that I was going to say there was going to be no grappling.
I was going to say if Bei Noah is smart, he watches all of Hagiwara's fights, and he's like, oh, I see a pattern here. I see a blueprint for how I can win. Yu says Manbo released. I'm not so sure what you mean. Could you just clarify that?
Manbo is the restrictions. I think that's what they call it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you, Yu, for letting us know that the restrictions are gone. And Kobe Day, Japanese love the foreign angle to the point where there are multiple tweets in response to the presser tonight are asking Karamov the fights. Oh, that's true. Yeah, I did see some of them.
Well, there was a rumored tweet that got deleted about Karamov potentially fighting, I think, Yutaka Saito or something on one of these upcoming cards. But I highly doubt that, considering the fact that Saito was going to be facing off against Ushiku for the featherweight title.
And also, let's be honest, the fight that
I mean, that's not the title match. We all know that Daisuke Nakamura is the champion, walking around holding his belt proudly.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, I'm gonna change course a little bit because you know what, you brought it up. CJ. So fuck it. We'll talk about. I don't know. Do we call it a robbery? Do we call this the split decision loss that Nakamura had to Sora Yamamoto?
Called a bunch of bullshit. Is what
don't worry. We'll talk about Koji Omeno next. But since you already brought up, so you think it was bullshit? I saw everybody saying that Nakamura won. I didn't see one person say Yamamoto won. I don't know on Japanese Twitter.
To be realistic, I think everybody wanted Daisuke Nakamura to win.
Oh, yes.
And I think it was an incredibly close and kind of weird fight where
yes, it was.
That's why you're going to be like, that's why the other guy might have won. But I think everybody wanted Nakamura to win, myself included. So we saw it very favorably for him. And whenever it went to the ground, I was so excited. And whenever it started standing again, I was like, go, start grappling again.
Listen, did you see Nakamura was like walking him down the entire walking Yamamoto down the entire time, like, and even like ducking,
hands down by his waist.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just thought it was so cool. I just it was just really cool. I really like this. This wasn't the Imanari Takizawa bizarre level, but this was more. I would say this is more cool. This was more cool seeing Nakamura just walk down Yamamoto, who's known for knocking out people, and just like not even being like afraid to like.
It's crazy that he's gone 6-0 since coming back.
Oh yeah, 6-0. That's true. Yes.
Also, it seemed weird because Takamoto was like yelling at him to like come forward and stuff, and it was weird because I'm like, he is the one coming forward. You're the one that's backing away.
What I noticed that so my theory why they gave it to Yamamoto. Remember the very end of the last round where Nakamura was trying for a heel hook, knee bar, and then Yamamoto just kept on punching him. I think that may have been the slight deciding factor in why the judges went, because based on damage output, I think.
I mean,
it's
yeah. Give me 1 second. I can close my door. But you see that in some of these fights because one of the examples I like no one ever talks about is Rena versus Siwoo Park was actually a very close fight. And I think Rena was trying so hard to finish the fight that she was eating punches that weren't really doing that much damage. And I think that's what actually cost her the fight. I think if that wouldn't have happened, she would have won. It's kind of a similar situation here where Daisuke Nakamura was pushing the action so much. He was just taking some punches. And I think the judges rewarded the opponent for that.
I'll be honest. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think they award aggression as much as they do in like the UFC and other promotions.
Well, when we talk about the Juri Ohara Akira fight, I think we'll definitely one of the things that we can mention is that, you know, two different rule sets would rule that a different way. I think also with this one, you know, is that you see, I don't know how they judge submissions as well, because it's submission judging is very weird, because I guess the idea is that you should have a submission on and it should finish the person. And like if it doesn't, I don't know if they if they give more to defending it versus offensive. If that makes you understand what I'm trying to say?
That's a good point you make, because in the Deep Jewels card that happened, Nirvana got Sugiyama in a tight armbar near the end of the fight, and that almost won her the fight. That one moment in the fight almost won her the fight. So in some judges' eyes in Japan, getting almost a submission is the same as probably a bad knockdown. It's like almost finishing the fight. But then you get, well, as you were saying, do you score defending a submission, or do you not score it because they're 100% defensive and that's what you're supposed to do? You're just surviving. So it's kind of interesting to see how they score that stuff, because Nakamura was all over his arm at times. And I thought he was doing very well in all the grappling exchanges. I thought he kind of controlled them. I thought his opponent kind of scrambled out of them.
When Yamamoto tried to like do that rolling like knee bar, and then Nakamura grabbed his leg, I was like, "Oh fuck, we're gonna see a heel hook ending. We're gonna see a knee bar ending or something." I really thought that Yamamoto fucked it up for himself, like when he tried going with that rolling knee bar, because literally you're going up against a guy that's like one of his big game plans in grappling is like doing that stuff, and I was just like, "You just fucked up, boy."
It reminded me of one of the fights where Imanari was in one championship and his opponent initiated the knee bar, and initiated the toe hold and like a heel hold. And Imanari was like, "Oh, okay." And then he just like snapped the guy's leg. I was like, "Yeah, probably shouldn't have started this grappling exchange."
The other thing, you know, that's here. Also, here's another example. So Kevin Holland, his most recent fight, his opponent had his back, but Kevin Holland was in such a position that like it was basically his opponent had no sort of dominance despite having his back.
Yeah.
And so you would think, okay, have the person's back, that person might be winning. But if they're not, if they clearly have no control or no dominance using what should be a dominant position, it's like it's a dilemma of like how you score something like that. And so Chris, tell me your thoughts. Like, did you think it was this was the right decision? Do you think what do you think got Yamamoto this very close win?
Well, to be honest, I would not know, because again, I was asleep for like the first 3 or 4 fights of the second half of the card, so I couldn't tell you what the hell happened. All I just know was I think we were expecting to see a brawl, and we probably got that, but we were just disappointed with the fact that a split decision was given to Yamamoto, and the fact that this fight took place at 150 pounds. Now, let's be real with this question. Y'all are basically saying Nakamura deserves to get a title shot or a title opportunity and that this is the year of the old man.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to Nakamura after this loss at 150 pounds, do you think that he'll potentially drop back down to 145 for his next fight and, try and work his way back into contention? Or are we going to see him go up to 155 and just start kicking ass there?
What do you think, CJ?
I mean, considering he knocked the champion out dead cold last year, in my eyes, he is the champion. And whoever he decides to defend against next, I'm excited to watch.
This is not like a bad loss. I wouldn't even. I know in Japan they tend to do rematches a lot more, especially when it's kind of like either when usually the wrong guy loses or it's very close. If a rematch happened at like, okay, I won't say 35 or trigger, but maybe later in the year, maybe even for like the Grand Prix, I would not be opposed to it. I think this ending kind of does warrant a rematch. I think. Do you think so, CJ?
Yeah, I mean that. I would like to see Nakamura also against a good grappler as well, just to see. I love the
clever
wrestling style versus. No, don't do that to me. Actually, do it. Let's do it. I'm intrigued. You've got my attention now.
No, that to me isn't because they're just so different in their styles and how they apply their grappling. I wonder just like how a match like that goes. I really it would be so fascinating. Jamie says just do Tokuro Nakamura 2 again. I'm not opposed to that. Do a catch weight 145, whatever.
Anytime we can see Sato-san make an VTR about Tokuro's porn collection, I am on board.
Chris, what do you think? A rematch? You think for this is warranted?
Yes, a rematch is warranted, but mostly as a way to, try and see if Nakamura can't work himself back into the featherweight picture, even though, of course, he did knock out Juntaro Ushiku like twice. So,
also, don't forget, he has a win over Yutaka Saito in quintets as well. So he's beaten two people connected to Ryzen the featherweight championship.
I mean, that's what a champion does. You see champions really just take on all comers and many aspects of the game. And I think he's one of the best champions in the organization.
So basically what you're saying is what you're basically saying is Saito and Ushiku, no matter what, they're just no matter what happens at Ryzen 35, they're just fighting to see who's going to lose to Nakamura again, right?
I'm saying this is like when Tyson Fury fought that German guy after the first Deontay Wilder fight, and ESPN called him the lineal champion about 1,000 times because he wasn't the actual champion. And he's the lineal champion. So Daisuke Nakamura, lineal champion.
He wasn't fighting a German guy. He was fighting a Swede.
Okay, that's what it was.
But still, though, I get what you mean, the whole lineal champion thing. You're basically saying Daisuke Nakamura, for all intents and purposes, is the lineal rising featherweight champion of the world.
Yes.
When it comes down to it, hopefully we'll get a chance to see that. Yeah. Now, I see from the graphic that you put up in the background, Andrew, it's time to talk about Koji Tanaka beating King Genji Umeno via majority decision.
Yeah, we got majority decision. I don't know, Japanese Adelaide Bird thought like this was a draw somehow. I have no idea how.
Japanese judges, I swear.
Nah, you're probably thinking this is the Japanese Julie Letterman or something.
Okay, because I always thought Adelaide Bird was the one who fucked up. Because she fucked up Triple G and Canelo. I think she fucked up some MMA UFC fights as well. I have no idea where a draw came in. Whatever.
It's her and Cecil Peoples. Cecil Peoples.
CJ, did you see this being a draw at all?
No. I mean, I thought Koji clearly won. I mean, it was Genji had his moments, but Koji I feel like he did also hit a couple of headbutts, and Genji spent a lot of the fight complaining. He got headbutted, and he I think got hit with an elbow at one point, which apparently elbows weren't in the rules. But Koji threw way more kicks than I'm used to seeing him throw. Mm-hmm. He's always been kind of like more of a boxer, kickboxer. So it's interesting to see him really open up with a lot more kicks than normal.
Mm-hmm. This is honestly the best Koji has looked. I'm not counting the Kazuma Sone fights because it was such a mismatch, but this is the best he's looked since coming to Ryzen.
Well, he's always, if you watch his old fights, I mean, Koji's one of his things is that guy's got a hell of a chin. Like, I don't think I've seen Koji get knocked out cold.
I don't think even Takeru knocked him down in their fights. I mean, Takeru obviously beat him.
He knocked him down, but there weren't like serious, this fight might be over knockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And he knocked him down, but that was a crazy fight. It's on YouTube. I recommend anyone watch that fight. But Koji, despite his advanced age, I think that last loss to Yaman kind of lit a fire under his butt, and he realized he needed a good win, and he delivered it. His shit talking is not as good as it used to be. Giving the catcher's mask was kind of funny, but it was made even funnier by the fact that Genji actually wore it during his walkout.
Kobe Day said the judges that gave it a draw took matters into their own hands with that non-called knockdown in the third round. Oh yeah, remember that? It was like Cozy hit him with a hook, and it wasn't ruled a knockdown, even though like it looked like a knockdown, and Damian Brown and Joe Ferraro both called it as a knockdown.
I had a hard time because I didn't rewind it, and I was watching it live, and I couldn't tell if Genji lost his balance, if he was on like one leg and he got hit, because he popped back up immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't tell if he was off balance or if it was a knockdown. But what was your opinion?
I thought it was a knockdown.
Okay.
To me, I don't know. Like, I mean, you could also argue that the punch made him off balance. It looked like it was to the temple, that people get off balance all the time when. But in
kickboxing a lot, like when a guy's throwing a like mid kick or has one leg on the ground and they get hit and they just fall over, it's usually not a knockdown.
Jamie says he thought that Genji won. Please tell us more. I'm very curious to know your thoughts, especially you were there as well, so you had a different perspective. Let us know why you thought Genji won.
Jamie, are you okay? Or the people know? And you live down there; they might get you.
Did you accidentally hang around Smoker Jim territory and absorb some Smoker Jim specialty? Ganja?
Might find Jamie's body covered in Koji balloons later.
Chris, were you able to see this fight? Or some of it at least?
I was able to see about like the last minute of the second round and definitely all of the third. And from what I seen in that fight, I thought that Koji had a lot of will and determination to win. He definitely showed that he had heart in this fight.
Oh, yes. And also, here's the other thing I've noticed about Koji, and this is with like his all sides. Even like he's got a chin, and he keeps the same pace and or just like even ups it when as the rounds go on. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of kickboxers, their output, just goes like down and down as the rounds go down. But Koji just has this constant pace that I like, he's maintained it even since his K1 career. Like, good on him for being able to just continue at this pace that he does.
That's one of the benefits of kickboxing with the shorter rounds is you're able to see a lot of action because the fights are just generally shorter.
Jamie says I'm in Kyoto. I have to look down on folk in Osaka. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, he's from the old capital. Yeah.
Well, oh yeah. So Cozy after this fight said that I think he talked shit on both Tension and Takaru. He said he wants to be on the New Year, not the New Year's Eve show, but whatever mega show, whatever.
The mega, yeah.
What do you think they do? Do you
Yes,
think?
Didn't Sakakibara
hear the
say there's
fact
no
that
chance of
he
that
said-
happening?
But I did hear the fact that he said he wanted to fight a little 4-man, one-night Grand Prix on the mega show. And that would be a fun possibility. But to be honest, how the hell you going to find 3 men willing to face off against you on this one card? Like, that shit didn't happen before.
I think Sakakibara also kind of shot the idea down almost immediately at the press conference.
Oh, he did. Okay, I didn't hear that. I didn't.
I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but
in all honesty, they seen the event that happened, I think last year or 2 years ago, and they did not want to see the same thing happen again, where Koji got screwed over and lost to Taiju Shiratori.
I think it would be interesting if you kind of had like a representative from different kickboxing. If you did a tournament like that, one from Ryzen, one from Rise, one from Deep Kick, one from like Hoos Cup or Bomb or whatever. If you did a tournament like that, but it's already this. I think that show's already having a lot of political.
I don't think. Plus, I mean, if you put a guy like Koji on a card, he's going to try to put the spotlight on himself. And I don't think the promotion wants to deal with any prima donnas in this event.
Do you also think that maybe K1 still has some bad blood?
That's a good possibility too. Yeah, K1 probably doesn't want him on the card. I didn't even think of that.
Jamie says that he thought Genji uses reach effectively, especially with kicks to the body and legs. Well, it's a close fight. Not sure about the down, but I thought it was a drop live. Jamie says it was about 3/4 full regarding attendance. I especially expect that of a Koji show or Koji thing.
Not bad for an event where the opening VTR barely featured any of the fighters on the card.
The Pride 34 VTR.
Yeah, the opening VTR that was like Horiguchi. It's like showing all these people that Satoshi like barely showed anybody involved on this actual card.
Now the next two fights on the main card, I didn't get photos because I was just too lazy. I was just kind of like, I kind of didn't want to rewatch those fights only because I did not enjoy watching them live anyway. So let me just read them off and we can talk about whatever we want to talk about. Strashikichi. Well, I think Daichi Abbey defeated Strashikichi. I'll definitely say an upset. Unanimous decision. Daichi Kitakata defeated Yutaro Muramoto, and Juri Ohara defeated Akira by split decision. First off, CJ, do you have anything about those 3 fights you want to talk about? Because they just, for me, most of them just kind of existed. And I can't even tell you anything about Kitakata and Muramoto. I really can't remember a thing about it.
I don't really want to. I mean, they happened, and I think they were part of the reason that the kind of excitement from the kickboxing fights got sucked out of the arena, probably. Strasser losing is a big deal, but I mean, he's also older and not as good as he used to be. So
I'll definitely say I was surprised that Strasser, especially he got out grappled near the end, like near at different parts of the fight. So that was definitely intriguing. I guess the Juri Ohara Akira thing. So I saw differing people. Some people thought Akira won. Some people thought Ohara won. I think unified rules gives it to Akira. I think JMMA Ryzen rules gives it to Ohara.
I mean, Akira got a lot of grappling in, but I think in Japan, I mean, not in Japan, but in Ryzen, and even in promotions that use different rule sets in Japan, the person closest to winning the fight usually makes a very big, finishing the fight usually makes the biggest impression on the judges. And while Akira got some grappling, he never really threatened anything with it. And Ohara was hitting him a lot throughout most of the fight.
Can we I also have this that the size difference between the two was almost cartoonish.
It was amazing. It was like watching Semi Schilt fight back in the day.
like Jerry, like okay, like there are some, there are some fighters who are like 5'11" and they kind of don't look tall. I have no idea why. I don't know if it was just because Akira's short and like, but O'Hara looked like 7 feet tall versus Akira. It was I could not. It was like they kept on mentioning throughout the English commentary just how like it was. Yeah, Damian Brown thought said that Jerry O'Hara looked like a light heavyweight.
Well,
And
it's also he stands up pretty straight. He like emphasizes it by his stance as well.
Also the camera angles, I think as well.
Yeah.
Also being a ring, it just like it definitely accentuated the height and Damian Brown also was mentioned throughout commentary how O'Hara could have like the best guillotine game if he only knew like grappling, just because of his really long arms.
How dare he?
Chris, what do you think about? Did you get to see anything about O'Hara Akira by any chance?
Nope. And I did not see either the Keita Kata versus Muramoto fight or the battle between the former UFC veterans Daichi Abbey versus Strashikichi Kunimoto. But, the fact that these fights ended the fact that each of these 3 fights ended in a decision after the Tiger Kawabe versus Ryo Takahashi fight ended in a draw, I mean, you wouldn't have been surprised that, aside from the fact that it came after an intermission, would have been where the drop-off happened for most of the viewers trying to watch this card, right?
Oh, well, yeah, for us, because like the prelims, if you want to call it that, a pre-intermission, I'll say, was like it was so funny because the same night that was that UFC London show that had all those crazy finishes, including the Molly McCann
spinning back elbow.
And then
that 12 hours prior to that.
And there was a bunch of and there was just a bunch of other finishes, and people were like saying like, "Oh, this is one of the best UFC shows," and then suddenly Ryzen starts, with no discourse happening or barely any discourse among English speaking fans. It's like what as it's happening in real time.
Dude, let's save that for after we get done with these results.
So after that, the UFC show, it's kind of like, oh, Ryzen's having all these crazy like first round finishes as well. So it was just a very funny like happening the same day. But then the main card, and it's not even that they went to decisions, just that they were just kind of like bland decisions and kind of like questionable, I guess, to some. I guess
the one result that kind of got me was the Daichi Abbey versus Strashikichi fight, considering the fact that that's in Ryzen's rare unicorn division of welterweight. Well, actually, no, let me rephrase that. Their rare unicorn division is middleweight through heavyweight, but still down welterweights. Abe getting the win over Kunimoto. Obviously, Abe fought 4 times in the UFC as opposed to Kunimoto, who fought like 6 times in the promotion, maybe 7. I'm not sure. Point of the matter is, with the amount of foreign talent coming back into Japan and the fact that you're going to see some of these guys, like an Andrew Tennyson, for example, who we talked about ad nauseum before, do you potentially see Daisuke Abe and or Kiichi Strasa Kunimoto potentially fighting in a Ryzen welterweight division should one be established?
I think it's dead. That's all I gotta say. I think it's a dead division. How about you, CJ?
Which division?
Welterweight.
Yeah, I mean,
77 kilos or 100.
I wouldn't even focus on it. I would wait for a potential star, and then work on it. But when you're gonna have old guys like this fighting, it's just kind of a waste, in my opinion.
Well, here's the thing. So you got a star in welterweight. He's in Pancras right now, and his name is Kinoshita, and unfortunately has a DQ. His first DQ loss because of
grabbing
stomping.
Yeah,
if you're gonna lose, that's a good way to lose.
I guess so. Yeah,
beating the shit out of your opponent.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. He got disqualified, grabbing the cage while stomping.
I don't think it's fair. I think you can't disqualify after the fact. I think you got to rule a no contest. If the referee had seen it there and had disqualified him real time, I think that's different. I think after the fact, a no contest.
I think that's generally the way that the U.S. would work. Is that if the judge didn't call it, he couldn't do it afterwards.
What was the Strike Force? Was it Invicta? Remember the Invicta fight? That was like ruled an armbar or something, but then the person didn't tap out. You know what I'm talking about, CJ? And then they reversed it. I know
what you're talking about. I can't remember it, but all I can think about is the weird Celine Haga Amy Montenegro fight, where Celine Haga choked her opponent out, and they pulled her off her, and the bell rang, and the girl that got choked out won.
But I guess here I'll say this: Juriohara Akira. Well, I mean, like, what do you think is next for Ohara? He's on an insane winning streak, lightweight champion of Deep, and I mean, what do you think will be next for him after this?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him back in Deep again. He is the Deep champion, and the Deep fighters seem to go back up and forth between the two promotions. So I wouldn't be surprised if he headlines a Deep card in the future. I would have
done, instead of Gustavo versus Yachi, I think they should have done Ohara versus Yachi and not book this Akira fight. I think that would have been a much more sensible fight, but that's just
I think they're trying to nurse Yachi back to health.
Yachi 10.0 at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess. He didn't go for the Zeph title.
It would be Yachi fresh off a title opportunity, though.
So before this Juriohara Akira fight, was a Tiger Ryo Takahashi majority draw.
Dude, you got a lot to talk about when it comes down to this fight, so I'm gonna let you have the floor.
CJ, how the fuck was this a draw?
I'll say, I think I might have said it earlier, but I think culturally, at least the Japanese people I know, they hate making decisions. And I think it goes all the way down to their judging, where they hate making decisions.
Anybody in the chat, anybody in the chat wants to give their thoughts on if they thought Taiga Ryo Takahashi was a draw or not, or whatever, please feel free to say anything. Sorry, CJ, go ahead.
But I mean, it's kind of weird because maybe it's a judging issue, but I mean, Taiga got dropped. If I'm remembering correctly, Taiga got dropped in the beginning.
Yes,
but then
as always happens, he always gets dropped in the first round for some reason. I don't know why.
Taiga kind of proceeded to beat the shit out of Takahashi for the remainder of the fight.
I think also Takahashi may have done something to his ankle or his knee, because I saw, if you remember the fight, you just heard him scream after like a leg kick, but he like he was still fighting. And then I saw a picture of Takahashi.
Always a good sign when your fighter screams in pain after throwing a kick.
But then Takahashi, I saw a picture of him on social media. He was in a wheelchair and his entire leg was braced up. So it looks like maybe an ACL tear or knee tear, meniscus tear, something like that. Luckily it happened in the third round, because if it was in the first round, if Taiga saw that, like Taiga would have probably just like gone after that leg and probably would have had to stretch it out. Listen, Taiga might be the one of the most unlucky men in Japanese kickboxing, because he had that great run, when he first started. Actually,
constantly remind ourselves that he's not 40 years old,
even though he's been fighting for as long as like some 40-year-olds old. He then goes into that long ass losing streak and loses like some really embarrassing like ways into some like people he shouldn't be losing. He then makes a little bit of a comeback, a slow comeback, kind of the Taichi Shortori thing.
Those fights are awesome.
Yeah, and then he's kind of seems to be. He also has a new camp now as well. He's no longer at Try Hard.
Yeah. That always seemed like such a weird name to me. It's like blatant use of using English. I'm like, maybe you should go for a more aggressive sounding name than we tried.
I was watching Pank.
Apparently, Tiger wasn't trying hard enough not to feel like a washout at 20-something years old.
Yeah.
I was watching Pancras today, and like some of the gym names, because Stuart Fulton translates all the gym names. I'm like, where do you get these names from? Like it doesn't make. I just don't know. Like, is it English or is it just?
It's all English. Did you like the one gym named Igloo? Like, why?
Igloo.
Why are you named Igloo?
I know, or like Iggy Hands, or I don't know. There's all those gyms I see in the Deep Jewels, like Mayway and
Oh, Miwi?
Miwi. That's what I thought it was Mayway. I thought it was
No.
Mayway, and then you and like whatever Peas and Lab Osaka Reversal. So they're either like these weird ass names or they're like so long. I'm like, I don't even
Yeah.
know where you get the names. Jamie has a very good question, and I'm curious to hear both of you. It was a draw, but the big question is why was there no extension round? And so, with that being said, CJ, should we have extension rounds like Rise does? And I think one also
No.
does no extension.
No. I'll tell you why. Because as a longtime shoot boxing fan, the judges, when they know there's extension rounds, refuse to make decisions. They're just like, it's kind of close. Let's just go to an extension round and hope that someone becomes a clear winner. I saw a shoot boxing fight go to 3 extension rounds. And while it's exciting, it does give judges who already hate making decisions more leeway to not make decisions.
Chris,
You
what do you
know, think of it? I mean, maybe here's an idea. I mean, I don't know if y'all remember the old ESPN2 kickboxing fights that used to air back in the day, but there was some of those fights like the old WKA and PKA shows that had like 8 3-minute rounds. Maybe instead of having the usual 3-minute rounds like how every other kickboxing promotion does, make your standard fights. Make your standard kickboxing fights in Ryzen 4 3-minute rounds and the championship fights 6 3-minute rounds. I'm not sure how stupid that sounded out of my mouth, but hey, that's just my idea to get rid of these damn draws. And either that or just have 5 people judging instead of 3. That would probably make the most difference.
I would also maybe say like in important kickboxing fights, they might want to do like a must winner thing with the judges, where if the judges ruled a draw, they have to pick a winner.
Oh yeah, of course.
I wouldn't be opposed to round extensions, especially because when they're like very close. I get it. I understand also the point of like, judges are already for some reason the kickboxing judges are indecisive. Never during MMA for whatever reason in Japan. I don't know why, but
hey, maybe you probably never watched those old glory fights.
Yeah, it's. I definitely think I would not be opposed. Well, but what about for like a main event, the main event kickboxing fight for like if Cozy and Genji Omeno was somehow ruled a draw by all 3 judges, maybe not for the undercard, only main card kickboxing matches, so that it doesn't happen all the time.
I would say maybe for the big fights, do 1 extension round, but then after that extension round, the judges have to pick a winner.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. No, I'm fine with like a must win. That's what I think Rise did that for their tournament. That's for their that's the requirement is that even if they go extension, there has to be a winner. So I'm not opposed to that. I don't think that the outcome will always be the right outcome, but it's some fights should not be going to a draw, and this one to me was not a draw at all.
Yeah, you kind of have to like overcorrect to try to fix this, and I think making the judges pick a winner is the way to do it.
So here's the other question I have: are we seeing Tiger 2.0, CJ?
No, we're not seeing Tiger 2.0. Tiger's gonna Tiger, and he's gonna have great performances. He's gonna fight in wars. Weird things are gonna happen in the fights, and it's gonna be a pleasure to watch. Doesn't need to be anything else. He's already so much fun to watch, and I love it.
Code Mayday says, knock down a kick.
Here. But here's the thing, though. Will we ever see Ryo Takahashi in the Ryzen ring again?
Not for a few months, because I think his injury is very serious. Would you actually? Well, I guess. Well, I wouldn't be if they ran this fight back. I wouldn't be opposed. I don't know what everybody else thinks. Rematch.
I mean, that'd be fun, but Tiger's got to start working out to avenge his brother's loss to Shibataro.
Oh, he must not be named.
Oh Lord! You know what? All I gotta ask again is, and to hell with Shibataro, he's a wasted space. But still, though, will we see Ryo Takahashi fighting Ryzen again? after
I think,
this.
yeah, I think so. They've already brought him in twice.
And Rising's clearly shown that they're willing to plaster their Osaka card kickboxing fights.
Mhm.
And I think there's plenty of room on the roster for him as well.
No, of course. But obviously, we can talk a lot about all these kickboxing cards at the very end of these results because there were some fingers.
Actually, I'll make it easy for all. Well, actually, I just want to quickly read the chat. Kome Day says that the knockdown kickboxing creates draws. There were 2 knockdowns. I guess I see what he means by that. And Jamie says always like Deep's 5 judges for title fights. That's true. CJ, that they do that 5.
Yeah, they're doing it in the tournament too. And in the Sugiyama Nirvana fight, 5 judges were there. 3 of them ruled it a draw. And 2, I mean, that's how much these judges love calling things draws. But Deep Jewels used the must-win situation to avoid these problems.
I guess here's the easiest thing you're gonna do, since the rest of kickboxing matches were like really cool to watch. I'm just gonna group it all. I'm not gonna give
Whoa. There's another MMA fight, isn't there?
Oh no. We'll talk about the MMA fights. So since we're on the kickboxing thing, we'll just talk about we're not gonna do all of them. Was there anything, CJ, out of all the kickboxing fights that we didn't talk about that are below Taiga Ryu, was there one that stood out that you have anything to say about?
Yeah, the Jinman Zoroko fight was unfortunate with the injury.
And inadvertent soccer kick.
Yeah, but that's the only other kickboxing fight I cared about. And all the other ones were just kind of, these are mismatched kickboxing matches put on the card to provide knockouts.
All the other fight, I mean, that's what it was. All the other kickboxing fights on this card provided non-stop knockout after non-stop knockout. And you mean to tell me that those were boring you?
No, it's not that they were boring me. I'm saying that I don't necessarily feel the need to speak about them because none of those kickboxers really stand out to me. I mean, I'm not a big kickboxing guy. And I mean, they serve what they're supposed to serve. Those kickboxing fights were put on the card to fill it up and provide knockouts. It was like a lot of Scott Coker style matchmaking, and it was great, but none of the names stick out.
CJ, I gotta tell you this, Jin Mandokuro, you must have heard what Jin Mandokuro said, because during the weigh-ins, this is what he said. He says he hates the fact that Ryzen MMA fans don't appreciate kickboxing. I can understand that kickboxing might be not as exciting to some, but I'm an exception. I will knock out my opponent like no MMA fighter can. And I guess he was kind of right, because he went for a soccer kick during the kickboxing fights.
Yes. Somewhere Momoko was sitting in the crowd yelling at her cousin to finish him, to get him a body bag. But he's clearly talented, and I want to see him back on a Ryzen show. But I know Jamie likes kickboxing, so he probably enjoyed it. I like kickboxing, but when I'm going to an MMA show, I don't want to see more kickboxing fights than MMA fights. So, yeah.
Do you think that Ryzen should just start a kickboxing division, kind of like Deep?
No. I think it's fine because I think they needed the kickboxing fights to fill out this card.
You know what? I don't think they should start a division because it's just fine as it is. But do you think that they should have a full show featuring kickboxing fights, like, unfortunately, one championship? Anyone?
Oh, I thought, were you talking to me, Chris, or were you talking to CJ?
I was talking to both of you.
Oh, after you, CJ.
No, because I think most of Rising's diehard fans are MMA fans, and they got pretty upset when Panchan Rina talked about like how she loves kickboxing, only wants to do kickboxing, and the Japanese reaction is, well, then why are you fighting for an MMA organization?
Here's the other thing as well. I don't know how much longer Cozy plans to fight, but like, unless you have a big name in kickboxing, like if you had maybe Cozy as a main event, or if he wasn't retired tension, if Ren Hiramoto was fighting, then you can maybe do a full kickboxing show. But I don't know, after tension leave, it's like, who would you put on? It would be Cozy versus somebody, and then I don't know, Taiju.
Do you also risk pissing off the actual kickboxing promotions if you start promoting kickboxing events?
I think I see what you're saying because like Ryzen's kind of like they got the things with Rise and I guess deep kick, and so I guess it's kind of like something that they don't they'll feature their guys on obviously they can get more eyes being on a Ryzen show than versus Rise 122 on a beam of TV maybe or something. I don't know. So there's I guess that's like there. I guess that's kind of like a little bit of the trade off. Hey, we won't do a kick. We'll feature your guys on our platform, and they can get more eyes on them, and that could potentially give more eyes to your thing next time you come to town or do a show or on a Bema or whatever.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Considering the fact of how much he's getting a charge out of fighting in Ryzen, how about putting over Yoshinari Nadaka?
I don't think he's there yet. I don't know if he can be.
Are you sure the dude just got 4 knockouts in Ryzen so far?
But I don't. But he
not doubting his skills, but he doesn't seem to have the it factor yet.
I mean, like CJ brought up before, like Kota Miura has more Instagram followers than who was it? You said Mikuru?
Oh yes, yeah.
Listen,
more Instagram fighters than any other fighter on Ryzen right now.
So what does that tell you about Nadaka? I don't think he even comes like even a third, and that's not an insult. Again, not insulting, but there is, it's kind of like what there's a reason why Sakakibara is obsessed with YouTube because if a fighter has a very popular YouTube channel, they can more likely get booked, and
he also might be too small. I mean, he's going up in weight now, but he's gonna have a hard time finding other big names to fight him.
That's true. Yes. Yeah.
He's so small.
Jamie says Yuki Kasahara looked good. Great KO. That was the flying knee KO where he almost fell out of the ring doing that. Which was that was a great KO. Just also actually curious to know so Mandokuro Sato, since it ended in a inadvertent soccer kick during a kickboxing fight. No contest. Dude, would you want to see a rematch? Maybe, CJ? And if not for Ryzen, maybe Rise. I don't know.
Put it on another Osaka card. Yeah, just save it for the next Osaka card where they seem to love putting on kickboxing.
How about you, Chris? Would you want to see a rematch? Finally, get a definitive winner between Mandokuro and Sato, even though they fought twice before, I believe, and Mandokoro's won both times.
I would say, even though these two are bona fide kickboxers, if they want, if the soccer kick ended, if the soccer kick caused the accidental no contest to happen, why not have the fight happen in MMA the third time around?
How about mixed?
Of course, these two men are strawweights, 117 pounds, pack mules. I just don't know if having them fight in another kickboxing fight would even be of service to them.
I don't know. That is a little bit interesting. I don't know how an MMA fight will go about with these two because I'm pretty sure that their MMA background is zilch. So that would be interesting to see how a fight like that would go. I also want to give some. I don't know if anybody reads the press releases or heard about what these fighters were saying during the weigh-ins, and like some of them these are just funny things they said to the press. I can't believe that someone said this.
I read all these press releases. I read the same press releases that you do, and I basically, I get a kick out of what some of these people say, especially before the weigh-in.
Masaya Jackie, who was in for us the opening fight, he was the tattooed fighter against Kota. This is what he said: "If I win this fight, I will thank my mother and confess to my grandmother that I have tattoos that I've hidden from her for 32 years." And he won. So I wonder if we're gonna hear what happened after, if the next time he comes to Ryzen or next time he fights.
Funny.
Was that sorry?
That's pretty funny.
Oh yeah, no, like some of these were just fucking funny. What was it? Yuya, who had a great KO win as well, said that he studied karate at 6 years old because I was a wimp and my mother took me to karate class. And he said that his opponent Yosuke Yamato has a scary face and he's not too excited to be facing him. There was another one. Oh, I guess we'll talk about his fight later. But Sawamoto said I have no idea what was the question, but he said, I think I'm a sociopath because I never get moved by my teammates' fights, and I just really don't care about their results.
Outing himself as a sociopath.
Yeah, I know. These were some. Oh, but the best one was this. For Ryuki versus Ayumu Yamamoto, the first official MMA fight of the thing. This is what Yamamoto said. He said, I took a great dump this morning, so that means I'm ready to judo throw some full rounds.
Although you basically said it was the best pre-fight comment there was in a Ryzen show, I think it was the stupidest. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're going to talk about how Ryuki Kaneda TKO'd Ayumu Yamamoto with that soccer kick, but still, nobody needs to know that. Shut up.
Code Mayday said Jim Mendoko should be fighting Nadaka, excuse me. Yeah.
Pretty fun. Yeah, it'd be a great fight.
It's probably like the biggest fight you could maybe make for Nadaka at this point. Yeah. And Jamie says he thinks it ended with Sato. Thought that Sato Jin ended with an ankle injury. I thought it was too, but I think they ruled the inadvertent soccer kick because Sato was pretty loopy. I'm sure the ankle injury didn't help, but he did get a nice full foot in his like square in the head.
Topology has it no contest accidental injury, but maybe.
I think it was a soccer kick. It was it may have been. I don't know if it was just the ankle. Might have been. They would have just ruled it a TKO probably for it as an injury, but because the soccer kick happened, that's why it was a no contest. Anyway, back to the regularly scheduled program of MMA fights, and this was a fun fight. Alan Hiro Yamaniha revenging against Motonobu Tezuka. From his loss years ago, and actually submitting him just like Tezuka did years ago. What do you think of this fight, CJ?
It's kind of crazy, right? Yamaniha actually apparently trains at a jiu-jitsu gym. I didn't realize that. He's been a brawler for most of his career. It's kind of crazy to see him do all these grappling exchanges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely, this definitely proved that he does go to Banzai Jiu-Jitsu. And his striking also looked very good.
First clue.
Yeah, and also not to mention his striking looked great. He clearly he dominated this entire fight for the 2.5 rounds. He really looked fantastic. I
think this is only the second submission win of his career. So it's kind of a crazy result. I was excited. It shows he's growing still, so it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Chris, what do you think about this fight? I know we talked about Yamaniha. We questioned maybe his chin. And I think we kind of thought that Tezuka would have the advantage just because on paper he maybe was a better fighter. But yeah, Yamaniha dominated. So
you can say that he was the better fighter because of the 2 fights he had in the UFC in the early 2010s. But then again, Yamaniha, who many people did not know, and I'm basically saying that sarcastically, didn't have a jiu-jitsu background. But still, though, Yamaniha knew he was going to come in and dominate this fight. It was just a matter of when the fight was going to end. And to be honest, I just wasn't surprised that this fight was going to end in the second round. I thought it was going to end in the first.
Mm-hmm.
Where was this grappling game in his Kai Asakura fight? That would have been a much better strategy.
I thought that Tezuka was going to out grapple him, but you figure that you could out grapple Kai Asakura. But yeah, this fight was like, maybe Satoshi reminded him that we do jiu-jitsu here.
Well,
maybe
also, kind of going to what you guys were saying in the lead up, maybe he's taken so much damage in his past couple of fights that he realized I need to fight smarter and not take a ton of damage to the head.
Yeah, sure. That's a good point. Yeah, this is the best I'll even say he looked better in this than he did in the Kuramoto fight. And not just because he finished him, but like he clear, like this was just 2 rounds of domination. Tezuka had nothing. And I mean, so I guess, Tezuka Gladiator bantamweight champion, that's, is, I mean, what do you think about him? Do you think we see him back again in Ryzen?
Ooh, it's an interesting question. When you'd ask that question, I'd say yes. But now that the pandemic's ending, I think a lot of these guys we're not going to see as much of.
What about his UFC clout though? Because that used to be, if you're a Japanese fighter was in UFC, you basically had an open door ticket to Ryzen.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, he lost. It was a bad loss for him, but he is right. It's not like he's going back-to-back losses. He's been winning. And so maybe we'll see him on a trigger card, I would say.
We'll definitely see him on a trigger card. I mean, that's no doubt about it. But you're basically saying, Andrew, is a UFC fighter can get a former Japanese UFC fighter can get a free pass to Ryzen. I mean, if she wasn't wrestling in stardom right now and becoming a star for that promotion, pardon the pun, I think Shuri Kondo would be the main person fighting in Ryzen right now.
Oh, they probably would have done the Kana Azakura rematch, probably even as soon as they could.
But she has to. I bet she makes so much money pro wrestling now that.
Oh yeah, of course she
does. Way behind her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What do you think of what happens with Yamaniha next? He really, I know that he didn't really get that much damage.
He's gonna get a potential. No, wait, actually, let's be real. Kiyoshi Horiguchi ain't coming back for a while because of the Bellator Bantamweight Grand Prix, especially after what happened earlier today, our time, with Sergio Pettis, the champion, being injured. So you gotta think. Will there ever be a Ryzen Bantamweight division for as long as Kyoji's still in the States? I mean, I hope they don't pull the I word, and by I word I mean interim. To give a makeshift title to these fighters trying to contend to fight for Kyoji, knowing that they probably, for as long as Kyoji fights for Bellator, never will get that opportunity.
Yeah, I don't see Ryzen doing any interims at this point.
They don't need.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what do you think will be a good fight for him next? CJ Yamaniha.
This division's so stacked with talent that there's so many fun matchups you can make. Because of his skill set, I mean, a Naoki Inoue fight might be fun.
What do we? But I don't know. It seems like Naoki Inoue's status seems to be up in the air.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's going back. Sorry, go ahead.
The problem with the tournament is that a lot of the fighters in the tournament last year got injured, so we kind of have a lot of these big stars out right now. But I was just saying that because Naoki can grapple and strike, and so can Yamaniha apparently. So that might be kind of fun to see. But outside of that, I mean, do you put him in there against a Motoya? I mean, enforce Motoya to be interesting.
See, I used to be a Motoya fan. I've kind of he doesn't have the grappling.
He's boring, but Yamaniha might be able to force him to be exciting.
You think so? I don't know. What about Yamaniha versus your favorite Shuto Watanabe?
I was thinking of that, but I want to protect my boy.
You want to still give him the Ota fights? Give him the easy Ota fights.
His girlfriend's coming off a tough loss, so I need Shuto to be 100%. I need him to be 100% mentally. I still want to see that Shuto Watanabe Imanari fight too.
Yeah. Ryzen, why are you doing this to us? Please, if Hafid or Shingo are in the chat, please book that fight. We want to see that fight so bad. I don't care what.
If he doesn't grapple, Yamaniha versus Kintaro might be fun.
You know what? That would be a fun fight, Yamaniha versus Yuto Kentaro Hokumura. But what about, since we're on the Imanari train, how about Imanari versus Tezuka?
Oh, Imanari versus Yamaniha or Tezuka?
Tezuka.
I mean, Imanari against anybody has
Yeah.
is will get my eyes. I don't know if I want to see him against, I don't know what to do to Zuka at the, I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't want to give him Minari. I think Yamaniha should probably, if you want to give him Minari, that's a cool, interesting fight. I'm trying to go through like the deep, if you want to do like veteran versus veteran, coming off his most recent win, Koro versus Tezuka, I think is a fair fight to make.
I know. But the
Koro
fight was so boring.
maybe the Tezuka could make it interesting.
That's true.
Code Mayday says Tezuka was on a 6-fight winning streak against Kuya Ito, bantamweight tournament guy. If Koraguchi loses in that tournament, Ryzen should strip him. You do the old New Japan thing when your IWGP heavyweight champion loses in Pride. I think they did a Bob Sapp. And Kobe Day also says Matoya had a bunch of exciting fights before he lost to Patchy Mix. No, that's true, but the problem is that he's a very much and also after the Rio Okada fight during the Bantamweight Grand Prix, he thought he was a striker, and then he got knocked out by Takizawa.
Well, he's been training with Ueda at what is that gym called, Fighters Flow, with Watanabe Kana, and I don't think it's been the best match for him. But he's had some weird results since moving there. But he's got name recognition, and I think it'd be a fun fight with Yamaniha.
It might, it's kind of like I guess with Matoya, it's the BJ Penn thing. Is it motivated Matoya or is it not motivated Matoya? If he's not motivated, he will coast. If it's motivated, if it gets to the ground, that's when Matoya becomes. That's when I start paying attention.
I'll reveal my bias is that I was trying to think of someone that Yamaniha could beat in an exciting way and then propel his star power more.
Oh, that's true. I guess that's possible. Yeah, listen, the Matoya fight makes sense. Or just do against Imanari, just because any fight against Imanari is interesting. Yeah. We got 2 flyweight fights. Are we seeing a flyweight upswing in Ryzen? Who knows? Maybe we are.
Hopefully so, with all these foreigners coming in. But yeah, let's talk about the Tatsuki Sawamoto versus Yuto Ueda fight. Yuto Ueda fight. Damn, now I'm starting to sound like Damian Brown messing up these names. But yeah, Tatsuki Sawamoto defeated Yuto Ueda via split decision, and Yuto was basically saying, oh, the flyweight division sucks. It's boring. I want to basically beat up all these flyweights to show how exciting this division can be. But now that he's lost this particular fight, do you think that he'll still be featured in the Ryzen's flyweight division as the foreign contingency comes into the promotion?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Ryzen's trying to put on so many events now that this guy, it was a close loss. He was looking good before this fight. So I think it's a safe bet we see him again in Ryzen.
Hey, listen, this wasn't a bad loss at all. And listen, he did.
Not at all.
Remember, I speculated, like, okay, he's saying that the flyweight division is boring. So, like, what is he going to do in this fight? Is he going to be like a Sean Strickland who talks tough and then, jabs his opponent to death or whatever?
A Tyrone Woodley.
Oh, yeah.
Who promises the knockout in every fight.
No. As soon as this fight started, he went right for Sawamoto.
Yeah. He
went right for him. And there was one point where Sawamoto had an armbar. What does Uda do? Starts stomping on his face. Uda clearly came here to do something exciting and show that flyweight isn't just a bunch of boring sack of shit. He did that. This was not a bad loss as well. This was not like an embarrassing loss. He didn't get dominated for 3 rounds. Sawamoto has just that way. He has that Benson Henderson way of kind of like edging out a decision in his favor, for better, for worse. And so, I thought this was a great fight. I think Uda definitely comes back. Sawamoto 100%. Definitely.
100% see him coming back.
The problem is that there's still no star. Sawamoto, listen, I don't think you're going to be selling Unext pay-per-views with Sawamoto's name on top. That's just a fact.
that it factor that you just have to put fights on until the guy emerges. That's the new star.
But Ryzen clearly is trying to get their own Tetsuro Taira, who's now on his way to UFC. So I'm sure if Ryzen wanted him, got Taira, we would just, we definitely would be seeing something right now.
I think I heard that Taira was like obsessed with going to the UFC.
Yeah.
So I think Rising really wanted him, especially when they did that Okinawa card. It looked like they were going to try to put him on it because he's from there. But I just think they had, once the offer came from the UFC, I think Rising had zero chance.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest, who wouldn't be obsessed with wanting to fight in the world's biggest waste of time there is, / world's biggest promotion for MMA?
I don't know. I take the Satoshi approach and just I make a lot more money fighting in Japan. I think I'll stay here.
Oh yeah, and if you watch the great We Talk JMA podcast hosted by CJ and Shu Hirata's always talking about that some of his clients and other fighters are making so much more money just in Japan, just on sponsors and TikTok and all the other stuff that UFC regulates. You get not as you'll make your if Taira becomes like somehow like a Conor McGregor level star, then you make a lot more money probably doing that than being in Japan. But those are the outliers. That's not the norm. And
long gone are the days of the Condom Depot and the Fastener sponsorships.
Exactly.
What was that? What was it? Quicken Fat? What was that fat? He sponsored everybody.
Quicken
Stackers.
Oh, Stackers, yeah.
No, there was like a fastener, like a company that was like, and he found every fighter, I swear, that didn't have a sponsor and gave them like $100 and sponsored thousands of fighters.
Also, before we talk about the next fight, just want to give a shout out to Sho Ogawa, who had the leg kick KO on this show, following us on social media. Thank you again, Ogawa-san, and also a great unique knockout as well.
He just bought himself a year's worth of positive coverage.
Exactly. I will be cheering for him in every fight that he is in from now on. Exactly. I can be easily bought. Remember that.
Of course. But let's go ahead and go on to the next fight if y'all are interested.
Yes.
And there's a pretty interesting background behind this. Ryuya Fukuda, a.k.a. on Twitter, @RickshawMonkey, knocked out Masayuki Watanabe in 54 seconds. First round TKO, by the way. And what Ryuya said as he was making his way back to the locker room, after the fight was over, and I think I quote commented this. He said, do the work early, do the work early, go home early. This is important as an artist. And to be honest, do you think it's important for Ryuya Fukuda, who's 14-7 now, to obviously get that opportunity to boost up in either the bantamweight division or the flyweight division, considering what division he would want to be in after that fast finish?
I think he's flyweight because he's a former flyweight champion of Shuto. So I think he's definitely going to stick with flyweight.
But after that fast finish, though, do you think that mantra really stood true? Go home early, leave. What am I trying to say? I'm already screwing this up.
Sorry.
First off, I want to say, how dare you guys make me care about Nave by telling his fun backstory and then just watching him get utterly obliterated. He was like, oh, there's no MMA gyms in my prefecture, so I'll start jump. I'm like,
wait a minute. His name is pronounced Nave instead of Nave?
It's probably Nave. I have no idea, but he's also half Russian, so who knows how he pronounces it.
I don't know. Maybe his katakana is like Nabe. And no. Yeah, and it's just mistranslated to Nave. I still don't understand the uppercase and uppercase E.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. So go ahead, CJ.
You guys made me care about this guy. Put a human story behind him. He got absolutely destroyed.
I know it was like brutal. It was hard, like it was horrific, like the knockouts. Like and after he went to the ground, Fukuda just like he did the Dan Henderson to Michael Bisping, where he's clearly out, but he still went down to get a double tap.
Is he going to turn it into a clothing brand logo and use it for all of his logos from now on?
Oh, who knows? Maybe.
Isn't that what Dan Henderson did?
Yeah, he did. Oh, sorry. Let's see.
Jorge Masvidal has gone for a much stupider logo.
Oh well, yeah, that whole thing. If
The less said about that.
Jamie says Montoya doesn't have the most exciting personality ever. Either that's true as well. Jamie also says Fukuda is power of Kyoto. Oh, so he's a Kyoto native. Didn't know that. And Jamie also says Osaka is yesterday's market. Kyoto is the future. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. I want to see a landmark show in Kyoto where they do it at like the Golden Pavilion. Do some like absolutely insane venue in Kyoto for a landmark show.
Is the Golden Pavilion, is that the 10,000 step temple of the Fushimi Inari?
No, it's the one that's gold plated in the middle of a lake.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I thought the you're talking about Fushimi Inari. Yeah, they should. There's got to be a sewer in Kyoto. There's got to be some underground.
They do seem to enjoy the Ninja Turtle style graphics for the one by Tokyo Tower. They always do.
I don't know. Is it TMNT related, or is it because it's plus weeds? That's why it's all green. That's what I thought.
The CBD company, yeah.
CBD liqueur, which sounds absolutely gross. Actually,
that sounds disgusting.
CJ, this is your job. You have to go get that plus weed CBD liqueur one day and give it a try and do like an unboxing tasting video. Taste it and do what that kid on who like reviews the fast food in the suit does. But doesn't
that kid have a ton of followers?
Yes. So this is your opportunity, CJ, for plus weed CBD liqueur. Oh wait, Jamie has a good point. KBS Hall is right next to the old Emperor's Palace. KBS Hall, that's the one with the stained glass windows, right? That looks like a church, I think. Right?
Maybe. But see, Jamie's thinking the wrong way. I want silver pavilion. I want gold pavilion. I want what's the big shrine that's like up in the mountain that overlooks everything. I want Street Fighter style setting. I want a pagoda in the background with a cordoned off street and them fighting.
Oh my god. Oh, there's so many things you can do with trigger shows or landmark shows. So Fukuda, here's what I say for him. Fukuda versus Sawamoto. I think that's an exciting fight to make. Does anybody agree?
No. Who is that guy that you interviewed that's writing a book about his life that had the tattoos? Was he the guy that fought Harry Stallone?
Oh, Kohei Tokeshi?
Yeah.
Oh, but he's not flyweight. He's not flyweight.
I know, but I know that. But because he also has a heartwarming story, maybe he could derail that and break all of our hearts with another brutal knockout.
Oh, okay.
Ruining another good story. But more seriously, yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. Sawamoto's a good suggestion.
I don't know what to do with Uta though. I mean, I think Uta will be definitely back. Oh, Jamie says Rise of Landmark from the rooftops of Nintendo offices.
See, now they could do the sewers. They could go home Mario angle.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Listen, they got a sponsorship from Nintendo. Ryzen wouldn't even have to do that GoFundMe for like another 10 years, probably. Chris, so what do you think about Fukuda, Nave? Any suggestions on what you think should be next for Fukuda? Maybe Nave, as well as Yuto Uda.
As far as Fukuda goes, if he can get more fast finishes like the one he had over Nave, I wouldn't mind seeing him more in Ryzen. As far as Watanabe, it's back to wherever the hell you came from. Probably deep, maybe Pancrase. Maybe you can go ahead and fight on some damn landmark cards on your way out. And as far as Uda goes, he, like I said before, he's a flyweight prospect who wants to basically, excite the division, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight more prospects from this side of the world, considering the restrictions are now lifted. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight more prospects from this side of the world.
So here's another question I just thought of, CJ. What would you rather have, a flyweight tournament or featherweight tournament this year?
That's your question.
Take your time.
I'm thinking featherweight, probably. What do you want?
Definitely featherweight. How about you, Chris?
Yeah.
I'd say featherweight, but you got to basically agree with me that flyweight is going to be a division on the rise. Hell, it already is a division on the rise. It's been that way since the early 2010s, so to speak.
Do you think so? Well, the thing is with the featherweight, they could easily just do with all the talent they have already. They don't even really need foreign talent at this point. I think they would have enough. Flyweight, though.
Nakamura's got so many people to defend the title against, and he's really just
Yes,
he fights
that's
anybody. He takes on all comers. So I think it'd be a great tournament for him to really assert his dominance. Plus, featherweight is
only because of the fact that Daisuke Nakamura was trained by the damn murder grandpa himself, aka Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah, and featherweight's such a clusterfuck that it almost needs a tournament to clear itself out.
And that's what Sakakibara said, right? I think.
Yeah. Because I mean, jokes aside, Koike clearly should be the champion.
Yeah.
He's clearly the best fighter in the division.
Well, listen, with Ushiku, you just never know how his fights go. He always wins in some, I'll say, unique fashion.
He's just looking for a way to somehow cripple Koike in the fight with a debilitating, just only oblique kicks. He's been only working on oblique kicks for the entire.
I thought you were saying he was going to do some Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan type thing right before the fight. I thought that's what you were referring to.
Now he foot stomps Koike. He gets a John Jones style injury where he rips his toe off.
Oh, yes.
He wins the fight that way.
Yeah, the problem with flyweight, I think, is that I don't know if Ryzen really has enough high level talent enough for it. They could probably scrounge about and find enough talent, but is it going to be, would it be high level talent enough? It'd be kind of it would be, yeah, because I would assume Sakamoto would be in it, and if with the current fighter that they have at flyweight, Sakamoto wins the whole entire thing. If you could bring in the foreign fighters, I think that certainly changes it up a bit and makes it a lot more interesting. Whether they will do the tournament this year or not, I'm not so sure. I think we're going to hear about that featherweight tournament. Who knows? Maybe later tonight during the Ryzen 35 Trigger press conference. Maybe we'll hear more. Who knows? Just be prepared to hear all the important stuff an hour after the actual press conference starts. Oh yeah, we have one more MMA fight. That was actually a cool finish. Ryuki soccer kicking Ayumu Yamamoto into the Never Realm. What did you think about
the fight that was buried in the kickboxing fights?
Yeah, that's how important this fight was. It sandwiched in between the kickboxing matches, and these two people also were former kickboxers as well. So it was a weird I forgot this was an actual MMA match until I actually saw the gloves. I thought it was still a kickboxing match. I totally forgot about the MMA because it was just in such a weird place. But listen, nonetheless, this was a cool finish. Getting a
nice little reminder. Don't worry, MMA fights are going to happen soon. They are on this card.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a little longer.
What do you think about this fight, Jay Krish? The first true soccer kick of the night. Oh, Chris?
Sorry, because background noise was irritating me for a second. Because you know what? Let me go ahead and say something quick about this fight. I thought this fight, the way how it ended, soccer kicks, beautiful violence on display. Ryuki Kaneda pretty much did all he can to make this fight enjoyable in the short time that it was featured. And, it just eased with the flow of the fast finishes that kicked off the start of this card. I mean, I think like the first 7 of the first 8 fights ended in finishes. All 8 of those fights, 8 of those fights did not see the bell, did not see the final bell, so to speak. But yeah, this fight, the way it kicked off the first card for Ryzen of 2022, I really enjoyed the fact that it ended via soccer kick, and hopefully, even though Ryuki Kaneda only got a 2-2 record, hopefully we'll see more of this man kicking people's heads in, like a Bryan Danielson match. As far as Ayumu Yamamoto goes, he's a prospect. He's only got 5 fights in. We'll see him again soon. It just won't be in Ryzen, though.
CJ, would you call either of these people prospects? Either of these fighters? I don't know if I call them prospects.
No, they're not there yet. I call them new fighters, rookies.
I like how you were trying to think of the word and you said new fighter.
Prospect to me means that you're on your way to a title shot, or it looks like that's like a possibility.
Yeah. Listen, I still get annoyed when when Mizuki Furuse was advertised for her Lone Riser show as a prospect, and it was like, no, she's
15
not.
fights.
15. What was it, 7-15 or 7-10 or whatever it was?
No,
at the
she's
time?
got like a weird 50-50 record. She's probably like, at the time, she's probably like 7-6 or like 7-5.
Yeah, that was kind of ridiculous. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous considering the fact that wasn't Mizuki Furuse also a champion at that point?
Was she?
I don't think she's ever been a champion.
No, but she did get her a win this past at the past Deep Jewel show. So congratulations to her.
Yeah. They fed her someone.
Oh yeah, they definitely did. They were definitely fed her. So that's Ryzen 34. So this is so we all kind of agree that like the pre-intermission was like way better than the main card. So here's how I'm gonna kind of like segment like what we enjoy most. Well, CJ, I know you're not a kickboxing person. I was gonna ask if you had a favorite kickboxing finish, because or like a favorite MMA finish. I don't know. Do you have a favorite kickboxing finish during the show?
I mean, they were all pretty nuts. It was all fun to watch. I'm coming across like I don't like kickboxing. I like kickboxing. I would not have wanted to go to an MMA event where more of the fights were kickboxing fights than MMA fights. Is just what I'm getting at. Plus, there's kind of even with the quick rate of the kickboxing fights, it was still like a 6-hour-long show. It was still pretty long. I've been spoiled by like Deep Jewels and Deep that are like 2.5 hours. But I mean, there's a lot of great finishes. I mean, I always love a good soccer kick finish. The Nave knockout was very brutal. But that was very brutal. But I think fight-wise, I think the Yamaniha fight was my favorite finish sequence.
Actually, before I go to you, Chris, CJ, do we have how much more time do we have with you?
Just a couple minutes.
Okay. Kome Day wants to know if you want to make some predictions for Ryzen 35. It seems like all rematches. So I guess do you have any predictions?
Real quick. I don't have the note at the top of my head.
Oh, it's right now.
I am interviewing Karen today, so you guys can look forward to that.
Congratulations, Karen, by the way. Also followed us on Twitter as well. So congratulations.
Wait, my predictions on who's going to win the fights or who's going to be announced today?
Yeah, Kome Day, just clarify that. Fights or outcomes. Chris, favorites, whatever from Ryzen 34.
My favorite finish of the night, it would have to be, because I can only pick 2 out of these, obviously, best submission or best submission and best knockout. My best submission was Yamaniha's rear naked choke. No disrespect to the main event, which obviously ended via submission. And my favorite knockout was when the rickshaw monkey, aka Ryuki Fukuda, right?
Yes.
Yeah, my favorite knockout was when Ryuki Fukuda knocked out Nave. But other than that, my favorite non-finish of the night, it would have to be, because I basically was up for it, it would have to be the finish to the it would have to be the finish to Koji versus Umeno. Even though it ended in a majority decision that some of us did not like, I think that was pretty much a damn good fight. And it was worth the time spent watching the show. And as far as the upcoming Ryzen announcements for tonight go, and I don't know if they're going to be tonight. Are they? Let me know, Andrew.
It's tonight. It's tonight.
Today, yeah.
Sorry, Code Mayday has another question for you, CJ. Are you going to the press conference today or no?
Oh no, I have work.
Okay.
I'm not going to the press conference. I'll watch it.
Listen, and you probably don't want to spend here at Sakaki Bar talking for an hour and then 5 minutes of fight announcements and then the rest is interviews.
But to answer his questions about who I think will win these fights, I've picked against Souza so many times I can no longer do it. I guess I just have to be on the Souza train now. He's proven me wrong every single time. The first fight ended in like a really weird freak injury. And that kind of skewed my opinion of Souza, which has finally corrected itself. So I'll pick Souza to win. He's just on such a hot streak recently. And Johnny Case is coming off of the legal issues, I believe. Was he the one that had the legal issues in Las Vegas?
Yes.
He's
or Iowa or whatever, wherever he's from.
He was having legal issues. And he had a couple of boxing matches recently.
Oh, he's fought like 0-0 boxers. It's so bizarre like that these actually happened.
So I think he's in a really weird place, and I don't think he's been training to his best abilities. And Roberto has been more active. For the second fight, Saito seems to be the most unlucky fighter in the world, and for that consideration, I will pick Ushiku to win the fight, just because I feel like
lighting rate falls
was doing
on
very well in the first fight, but he seems very unlucky.
And I think is there one more? Oh yeah, there's Hamazaki and Izawa.
Yeah. I will pick Izawa to win it, just based 100% on how dominant the first performance was, and with Hamasaki being in her 40s and Izawa being not even in her athletic prime yet. Plus, Izawa is getting better at a very fast rate, where Hamasaki's level improvement isn't as high. Now, I say Hamasaki has a chance to win if she can keep it striking. But the question is, as we saw in the first fight, Izawa was willing to do whatever it took to get it to the ground, even pulling guard. And so I think Hamasaki will have a hard time keeping it striking. And prediction-wise, I'm predicting that Kana Asakura might be on this card. And I think she might be facing the Shuto champion Sadami. But that's just my guess.
I gotcha. If you gotta go, CJ, if you got, I know you said you had a few minutes. I don't want to keep you up. And if you gotta go, do you want to head out and give out your plugs and all that stuff? I'll leave that up to you.
No, we can wrap it up.
We have Code Mayday wants to know. He wants you to ask Karen about who her training partners are for these fights. The Indian shoot off of Date Jim may have actual training partners for her. Well, I'm guessing if it's Karen, it's the how the fuck do you pronounce it? Parhava,
whatever they pronounce it.
Yeah.
Well, it's her, Darani, and Nodi are in Team Prabjara. And they're very secretive. They still ancient Indian martial art.
They still doing that shit? I thought they would have dropped that shit.
No, they still do it. They still do it. I was laughing because on the Pancrase show, Guy was saying in the commentary, he was like, they say they do this Indian martial art. They essentially do Taekwondo. They're Taekwondo fighters. I'll ask her about that.
Quickly,
if we can check out, if y'all want to check out CJ, feel free to check out the podcast that he does with Shu Hirata, which is available on all forms of podcast providers of choice.
And your YouTube channel, right? I think Shu Hirata has the Let's Talk GMA, but you have your own Sogo copy.
Yeah, it's only got 2 videos up on it now, but we're going to start putting stuff on it. I'm trying to work out an interview with Rinnakai and Wild Usami.
And now you got to do King Reina next because she's going to be on that next Deep Jewel show.
Yeah, only AV talk. Only AV talk with King Raynon.
And her vegan diet. And you got
vegan diet, yes.
Just quickly, I'll just give my quick thoughts on Ryzen 34. Knockout of the night is a tie between Shogawa and Yuki Kasahara because I love leg kick knockouts and I love flying knee knockouts. So tie between them. And if I had to fight the night, you know what? I thought that Tiger Ryo Takahashi was an awesome fight and probably my favorite fight of the night. This was a night where kickboxing outdid MMA by a lot. And I think it actually broke the Osaka curse of really, kind of really tedious, long Ryzen shows for Osaka. At least it broke it at first. And then, I don't know, whatever happened after, the curse kind of came back. Yeah, that's Ryzen 34, folks. Okay, card.
The thing, though, as far as, first of all, before we even close out the show, and I know, CJ, you got to get the hell out of here, but as far as Ryzen 35, first of all, before Ryzen 30, what am I trying to say? For Ryzen 35 or Ryzen Trigger, the press conference tonight, I'm just going to say that hold on one second. God damn it. Why does this always do us this? Well, yeah. Let me just go ahead and say that hold on. Damn it, I hate this. And this fucking thing doesn't want to work. Look, all I'm just trying to say, you know what? Fuck it. I guarantee that Ryzen was going to have more than one foreigner announced for the next set of fights for this Ryzen card coming up. For these two Ryzen cards coming up in about a month's time. And as far as, Ryzen and Live Now, Andrew, you discussed this in the damn thread that I wanted to be a part of, and that I still want to be a part of, because the thread is up there on Twitter at We Are Ryzen Pod. You basically talked about Ryzen needing to leave Live Now. Is that true or not?
Mm-hmm. CJ, you probably have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. They should leave Live Now and whatever, try to get back on Fight or just offer an English whatever thing on their own thing, regardless of whether it being $50 or whatever. Because Live Now is a trash service. I have no problem saying that, and I really I don't know anybody who's never not had a problem with it, and it's very embarrassing that a product called an app called Live Now cannot even run properly live. It's really embarrassing. It's really pitiful. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. All that shit aside, the Pancrase commentary is so much better than Ryzen's.
I'm gonna be the lone defender of Elliot Compton. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but they changed commentary people midway through the show.
Is it no longer that Joe Ferraro guy?
No, it was him.
That guy is a black hole of charisma.
Listen.
Are you saying that because of the fact that he's from Canada, more specifically Toronto, Ontario, Canada?
I don't know, man. That guy just has no enthusiasm.
I'm not gonna. I don't. You see, here's the thing. I have. There's difference between I think over enthusiasm and then there's under enthusiasm. I don't mind. I think that Joe Rogan is the example of bad enthusiasm where
clearly didn't prepare, just yelling randomly.
Yes, yeah. And then I'm trying to think of who would be under enthusiasm, be Michael Cole for WWE. No, I do not Michael Cole. The other guy, was it Grisham? Todd Grisham? Chris, is that who?
Todd Grisham, who used to be in WWE, but now is commentating fights for Glory.
Yeah. Him. Michael Cole's not that bad actually, but listen, I know that a lot of people don't like it. Listen, but I always say, listen, if you had commentators, go with Stuart Fulton, Guy Delamo, Brian McGrath, anybody, Mark Pickering. I know that Mark Pickering has not endeared himself to people now, but regardless, he's still a great commentator. Along with Fulton, they know their stuff. They speak Japanese, and they can do stuff that Ferraro and Brown can't. So, but that doesn't mean I think that Brown and Ferraro are terrible. But like, it's just like I don't know why. Like, and also Joe Ferraro has a bad internet connection, so like he drops out constantly during like.
That's a giant issue. Yeah.
I don't know where Damian Brown is. He has perfect internet. He's never had an issue. His sound is perfect. He's got a beautiful microphone. But yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't, improve, the commentary is big for some people. Not as big for me, really, but for some people, it's like a deal killer. They can't stand them for whatever reason.
I normally can tune it out, but Joe Warren was impossible to tune out.
Yes.
Oh, fuck. Don't even get me started on that guy. And that other guy who basically said something about, I don't know, he made some sexual gestures. And I think Rise Up Podcast has had like a video about him before they got taken down about that.
Well, it was Joe Warren used to make weird sex jokes too.
Yeah.
About Krokop's daughter, no less.
Yeah, that was super weird. I remember that now.
But yeah, Live Now, the problem, and also here's the thing that people don't know what Live Now is. Everybody knows Fight. Fight, CJ, right? The Fight TV
I used to use that when I lived in the US.
Exactly, yeah. Live Now is if you want to watch a BTS concert or whatever. So yeah, it's them leaving Fight really. And yeah, one of the things I kind of was discussing was like, there was like nobody talking about the show at all. And there was no live thread on r/MMA. And you kind of figure that, a numbered show would be a little bit different, but there was literally it was like a dead zone, like of discussion, except for the usual suspects. So yeah.
Yeah, I try to avoid that bottomless pit known as r/MMA as much as I can, because if you're not caring about the UFC, you don't get promoted. You don't get over.
Yeah, but Live Now is just, I don't like the service. It's always had issues. It's always never working. I'll never forget so it didn't happen to me, but it happened to LJ. I was about to say CJ, LJ, and a bunch of others where
translator originally from Australia.
The Ren Hiramoto Kyoei Hagiwara fight dropped out for some people when it aired live at Ryzen, whatever. And then of course the whole thing with the Ryzen Osaka show where we all missed the main event as well. So it's really like a pitiful service, and I really hate it. Unless they really, that to me bothers me more than a commentary. I can mute bad commentary. I can't fix Live Now's server issues from my end. So that's the one thing is that Live. I would wish that Ryzen would just say, hey, we'll just do it through our own thing. We'll have an English devoted whatever
option and a Japanese option.
Yeah. And have the commentary through that. So that's all I gotta say about that. Sorry, CJ,
come to think of it, if anything, Andrew, it's better to have shitty English commentary than having to hear it in Russian or Chinese, like how it was for the first 3 shows.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But yeah, CJ, you have to go. We hope you ace this interview with Karen, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. And by the way, they can follow you on Twitter at CJ_Sogukaku, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And it's sogukaku.com. I have the podcast with Shu once every 2 weeks. We got delayed this week because of some issues, but we'll be doing that tomorrow. And it's perfect timing because with the announcements today, we'll have lots to talk about.
Oh, of course. Beautiful. Great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And Andrew, they can follow you on follow at abenja1 on Twitter. They can follow you at they can follow your work via MMAsucker.com, and they can basically follow us at We Are Ryzen Pod. That's WeAreRizinPod, all in one word, correct?
Yep, that's correct. Sorry, we just got a question from Eli Easy, the Game Hunter. Sup, fellas? Did I miss the pancreas thoughts? We actually didn't discuss pancreas. Yeah, we didn't have any time.
But I'll be discussing it tomorrow with Shu. It was a great show, and I'll be talk about the new structure, all that stuff.
Yeah, I'll definitely say it's a great show. But yeah, CJ, I know you gotta go. I don't want to keep you any longer than we're ahead. Thank you again, man. Appreciate it. We'll definitely talk
Yep.
soon.
Cool. See you guys later.
Yep. And Chris, sorry. Go ahead after you, sir. You were doing your beautiful thing.
Yeah, I was attempting to do my plugs before y'all interrupted me, which is kind of cool because when it comes down to this show, hold on one second. Shit, I always happen to, but still, point of the matter is when it comes down to this show, I'm just happy to be doing this because I wouldn't be doing anything else right now with my time. And okay, you know what? The hell with this. I guarantee that this is probably the best thing we can do to put over Ryzen no matter what the hell they do.
Well,
As
actually,
long as they do right by us, the fans, you know?
yeah. I guess Eli, if you wanted, I think all this should have. Oh, sorry. I think all the JMA promotions should have better streaming providers. I have no problem with Tiget, where the fuck it's pronounced. I think it's great. I don't like the Vimeo that they use Vimeo though, because I can't Chromecast it or do it through whatever my Amazon TV. If you want to know about the Pancreas, it's a great show. I thought 326 was a fantastic show. That English commentary by Fulton and Delamo, perfect. Know their shit, informative, and they translated everything. They also had translated VTRs in the show. And yeah, Pancreas 326 was a great show, Eli. If you can get a chance, watch it on Tiget. If you can. I think the price is a little bit more expensive now because it was like because the show already happened. Yeah, they definitely do need to get their foot in the States again. And at least now they seem to have a direction. They seem to have a much more. They're more focused now because they had like 3 title fights on their show as well. And it's looking that Pancreas is now going to get their footing back, and they're going to hopefully we'll get to see a lot more. Especially they were known for bringing in foreign talent. Hopefully, they'll be able to bring back people like Riley Dutro and I don't know if Ambrose is still fighting. JJ Ambrose, is he still fighting, Christian?
I think he is, but it's probably in Australia or something.
Okay, or yeah, maybe we'll get to see like a bunch of Australians coming to Japan just because of the distance, or Guam. Maybe we'll see some Guam fighters as well. Maybe we start a heavyweight division with our boy Rocky Martinez.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you can start a division with him. You can't start it with Jake Human for obvious reasons, but still, though, I think that when it comes down to the future of Ryzen, I won't be surprised if we end up seeing Simon Beyong move up to heavyweight to face Rocky Martinez, since you can't get the light heavyweight title back down from Yuri Prohaska until he fully vacates that and wins the UFC title, which of course I think he already has. Am I correct?
I think he does. Yeah. Also, I want to mention, check out if you don't have a lot of time to check the fights, make sure you check out Durrani's fights, because there is a cool super kick that breaks the opponent's jaw. I'm not gonna say who. Try not to look up spoilers if you haven't, haven't already. But there's a cool super kick that breaks the opponent's jaw in that fight. One of the coolest moves I've seen in an MMA match in a long time. Yeah, definitely check out the show.
You know what? I'm not even gonna bother fucking around with this audio thing because it sucks. So no Lenny Hart, unfortunately. But still, though, I'm Chris Gary. See y'all later. Y'all can follow me on Twitter at ChrisGary92. Follow me on Instagram at ChristianGary92. Follow Focus Fights, which is hopefully going to be restoring its Focus Fights audio podcast, available on all different platforms and providers. Hopefully we can get our shit together and get this podcast back into audio form instead of video form. And, if you want to follow more about the Ryzen Fighting Federation, subscribe to their YouTube, but subscribe to us first at We Are Ryzen Podcast or at Focus Fights. And you can follow Ryzen on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can check out their website, RyzenFF.com. Other than that, we thank y'all for joining us. And we hope that y'all enjoyed the rest of the We Are Rising pod. No, we hope that you enjoyed the We Are Rising podcast. Until then, or until I get my damn audio and work, peace. See y'all hopefully around the first or second weekend of April.